village danced on his grave, celebrating the end of mankind, until a cold laugh broke the silence. The village of Orcs stood under a pale purple sky that never truly turned dark. Even at night, faint silver light from the twin moons covered the fields in a soft glow. The air was thin and cool, and red dust moved slowly across the ground whenever the wind passed. Stone houses shaped like tall shells formed a circle around the center of the village. In that center, under a rough marker made of black rock, lay a grave. The villagers gathered around it with music and laughter. They had done this every year since the last human died. Long ago, ships had fallen from the sky like burning stars. The humans had arrived with loud engines and shining armor. They had built metal towers near the rivers and machines that cut through stone as if it were soft soil. At first, there had been fear. Then there had been war. The Valori people were smaller in number but strong in unity. They fought with energy spears and sky gliders. The humans fought with machines and careful plans. The battles lasted many seasons. Fields burned. Rivers turned dark with ash. Villages fell on both sides. In the end, the humans lost. Their cities were broken. Their signals went silent. Their last ship was seen falling behind the broken mountains in the west. After that, nothing. All except one. His name was Elias Ward. He had been captured near the end of the war. He was found alone, standing beside a damaged machine that still smoked from battle. He did not run. He did not beg. He only watched the Valori soldiers surround him. He was taken to the village of Orcs as proof that the war was over. The elders wanted all to see the last human before he was executed. They said it would bring peace to young minds and close the wound of fear. He stood in chains in the center of the village. His face was dirty, his uniform torn. One of his arms bled where metal showed through skin. The villagers whispered when they saw that part. Ah, humans had changed themselves. They had mixed flesh and machine. It made them harder to kill. The eldest among the Valori spoke loudly that day. Mankind ends. Here. Elias had looked at the crowd. His eyes were calm. There was no anger in them, only something else, something quiet and steady. He smiled. That smile stayed in the memory of a young Valori named Taran. Taran had been only a child during the war. He had hidden in cellars while ships roared above. He had watched soldiers march through fields. He had seen fear in the faces of adults who tried to stay brave. When Elias was brought to the village, Taran pushed through the crowd to see him. He expected a monster. He saw a tired man. The execution was simple. No great speech. No torture. The elders believed quick endings were cleaner. Elias was taken beyond the last row of houses to a flat space where red dust covered stone. A shallow grave had been prepared. He was placed inside it. The sky was silent. Before the final soil was thrown over him, Elias looked once more at the gathered villagers. His eyes moved slowly across their faces as if he were memorizing them. When his gaze passed over Taran, the young Valori felt a strange chill. Elias smiled again. Then the red dust covered him. The war was declared finished. Years passed. The fields grew green again. The sky no longer carried smoke. The children who had once hidden in fear now ran through the streets with wooden toys shaped like ships. A story of the war became a lesson told by teachers. They spoke of strength and victory. They spoke of the danger of outsiders, and every year on the day Elias Ward was buried, the village gathered to celebrate. This night was no different. Bright lanterns hung from poles. Musicians played long flutes that made high, clear sounds. Dancers moved in circles around the grave. They stepped in rhythm, their feet pressing patterns into the red dust. The grave marker stood dark and silent in the middle of the celebration. Some of the older villagers touched it as they passed, as if to remind themselves it was real. The children were braver. They threw small stones at it and laughed. Taran did not laugh. He was older now, nearly grown. He worked in the fields during the day and helped repair gliders when needed. He had not spoken about Elias in many years, but he had never forgotten the smile. He stood at the edge of the circle, watching the dancers. His friend Mira nudged him. "You should join," she said. "We are free because of this day." Taran nodded, but he did not move. The air felt strange. A wind passed through the village, colder than it should have been. The lantern flames flickered. A few musicians paused to adjust their instruments. Taran's eyes moved to the grave. For a moment he thought he saw the dust shift. He blinked. The ground looked still again. He told himself it was only the wind. The elders stepped forward as the music slowed. The oldest among them raised his hands for silence. "But tonight," the elder said, "we remember the end of mankind. We remember the courage of our people. We remember that no threat can stand against unity." The villagers cheered. Taran glanced once more at the grave. The dust moved again. This time he was certain. A thin crack formed along the surface of the red soil, as if something beneath had pushed upward. It was small at first, barely visible. No one else seemed to notice. The elder continued speaking, his voice proud and strong. "We stand here because the last human fell beneath this very ground." A low sound interrupted him. It was faint, so faint that it might have been mistaken for wind sliding between stones. Taran's heart began to beat faster. The sound came again. It was not wind, it was a laugh. Not loud, not wild. Calm, cold. The music stopped completely. The elder froze mid-sentence. Villagers turned their heads, searching for the source. Children moved closer to their parents. The laugh came from beneath the grave. The red dust began to sink inward, as if the earth itself was breathing. Cracks spread across the surface. Small stones rolled aside. The black grave marker tilted slightly. Someone screamed. Guards rushed forward with energy spears raised. Their faces were pale under the lantern light. The ground split open. A metal hand burst through the soil. Dust flew into the air. The hand gripped the edge of the grave and tightened. More earth collapsed inward. Slowly, with steady movement, a figure began to rise. Gasps filled the night. Half of the face that emerged was human, pale skin marked with old scars. The other half was metal, smooth and dark, with a single blue light where an eye should be. Elias Ward pulled himself from the grave. Red dust fell from his shoulders. Pieces of broken stone slid from his back. The hole beneath him was deeper than any shallow grave should have been. He stood upright. No decay marked his body. No weakness showed in his stance. The metal parts of him moved smoothly, as if newly built. The villagers stumbled backward. "This is not possible," one guard whispered. Elias looked around slowly, taking in the lanterns, the frightened faces, the circle of dancers frozen in place. His expression did not change. The blue light in his metal eye glowed softly. The elder found his voice first. "Fire!" he shouted. Energy spears released bright pulses toward the figure standing on the broken grave. Before the blast could reach him, a shimmer appeared around Elias. A faint shield of light curved through the air. The energy struck it and scattered like sparks. Silence fell heavier than before. Elias stepped forward out of the grave. The ground behind him continued to sink, revealing metal beneath the soil. Smooth surfaces, faint lines of light, something far larger hidden below the village. Taran felt his legs shake. The human's gaze moved across the crowd once more. When it reached Taran, it paused. Recognition flickered there. Not anger, not hatred, something else. Elias finally spoke. "You celebrated too early." His voice was deeper than before, layered with a slight metallic echo. Calm, certain. No one moved to stop him as he walked forward. The guards lowered their spears without realizing it. The villagers parted as if pushed by invisible hands. He walked through the center of the village, past the stone houses, toward the dark hills beyond the fields. A lantern swayed in the cold wind. The elder shouted for soldiers from nearby towns. Messengers ran. Panic spread like fire. Messengers, panic. Messengers, panic. Panic. But Elias did not look back. Taran made a choice in that moment. He followed. Keeping his distance, he moved between shadows and low walls. The red dust covered his steps. The human figure ahead walked with steady pace, not fast, not slow. Beyond the village fields, the land rose into rocky hills. Strange plants grew there, thin and tall, their leaves sharp as blades. Elias reached a cliff face of dark stone. He stopped. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a line of blue light traced across the rock. A door shape appeared where there had been none. With a deep, mechanical sound, the stone split apart. A hidden entrance opened. Bright, white light poured out from within. Taran ducked behind a boulder, staring in disbelief. Elias stepped inside. The door began to close. Before it sealed completely, Taran caught a glimpse of something inside. Rows of tall metal shapes lined a vast chamber beneath the hills. Each shape held the outline of a human figure suspended within glass and light. The door shut with a heavy echo. The cliff looked whole again, as if nothing had happened. The wind moved softly across the hills. Behind Taran in the distant village, alarm horns began to sound. He stood frozen between two worlds. Behind him lay his people, afraid and unprepared. Before him lay the truth buried under red dust for years. And beneath the village, where they had danced and laughed, something had been waiting patiently in silence. The last human had not been alone in his grave. The night on Orcs had changed forever. The chamber inside the cliff was larger than Taran could have imagined. The walls glowed with soft white light. Panels and consoles lined every surface. Strange symbols blinked and moved in patterns he did not recognize. Rows of glass pods stretched into the distance. Each pod contained a human figure, still and quiet, suspended in a soft glow. The shapes were not like the frail humans Taran had seen in history lessons. They were perfect, like soldiers who had trained for centuries. Elias moved toward the pods without hesitation. His metal hand brushed against a console, and the lights responded, pulsing in rhythm with his touch. The soft blue eye glimmered as he spoke, though no one answered him aloud. A calm, mechanical voice emerged from hidden speakers. Activation sequence ready. Key verified. Power reserves at 23%. Partial restoration possible. Terran stepped cautiously behind him. "What is this place?" he asked. His voice sounded small in the vast chamber. "This is where the humans waited," Elias replied. "Where we survived even when you believed we were gone. The war ended above ground, but the seeds of our return were always planted here." Terran stared at the pods, trying to understand. "You mean these people are alive?" "Yes," Elias said simply. "Alive and ready if needed, but not all can wake at once. Our systems were damaged. Only a few can be restored now. I must choose carefully." Taran swallowed. He had never imagined humans could build such things. Machines and men combined to create warriors that could survive anything. His heart beat faster. Fear and fascination mixed together. He had watched humans die in the stories, in the broken cities, in his own childhood. And now they were here, hidden beneath his feet. The calm voice from the console continued. "Warning. External activity detected. Valori units approaching. Estimated response in 34 minutes. Elias's glowing eye shifted to Terran. "They will not stop us," he said. "You saw what I can do. You know the power of survival." Terran's mind raced. "But the village, the people, they will attack. They always will if they believe threat is near," Elias said. "We are not here to destroy them. Not yet. We are here to prepare. If we act too late, none survive. If we act too early, many will die." He moved to the first pod and placed both hands on it. The glass surface began to vibrate. Light ran through the veins of the pod like liquid fire. The figure inside stirred. Taran saw fingers twitch, shoulders shift. Slowly the pod opened, and a human stepped out. A woman, tall and strong, her hair tied back in practical braids. Her eyes scanned the room quickly. She did not speak. She only moved with careful precision. Another pod opened. A man stepped out. He was lean and wiry, his movements quick and deliberate. He checked a device on his wrist. His expression was calm, like he had woken from a long sleep, expecting exactly this moment. Elias guided them with simple gestures. Another pod opened, another, until 5 humans stood in the chamber with him. Each looked different, but all had the same calm confidence. They were not angry. They were not vengeful. They were ready. Taran stepped closer, still hidden in the shadows. He could not believe what he was seeing. Humans had the power to return from death itself. They had built a hidden army beneath the planet, and now they were awake. Outside, the sounds of the village changed. Alarm horns blared. Guards shouted orders. Lanterns swayed violently in the wind. Soldiers ran toward the hills. Taran knew they would reach this place soon. Elias turned toward the humans. "We have limited time," he said. "The Lori forces will arrive soon. We can fight, but it is not the choice I prefer. We must move carefully. Only a few pods could be activated. Every action counts." The humans nodded. They began to prepare quietly, checking weapons stored in hidden compartments. They moved with smooth efficiency, like trained soldiers ready for battle. Taran felt a mixture of awe and fear. He had grown up believing humans were dangerous. But seeing them here, alive and calm, something changed inside him. He felt the weight of truth pressing against every lesson he had been taught. Suddenly, the chamber shook. A low rumble ran through the stone floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Taran looked up in alarm. Elias did not move. The humans did not panic. "They are coming," Elias said softly. "Prepare yourself." Taran hesitated. He wanted to run. He wanted to warn the village, but he could not leave. Something told him that if he ran, he would never understand what was happening. The first Valori scouts reached the hills. Taran could see them from a small gap in the chamber's hidden entrance. They were cautious, holding energy spears, scanning the dark landscape. Their ships hovered above, glowing with green light. Elias moved to the main control panel. His hands flew over switches and screens. Symbols changed rapidly. The chamber responded to his touch as if it had been waiting for him all these years. One of the humans, the woman who had first stepped out of the pod, whispered, "Shields online. Weapons ready." The wiry man replied, "Energy distribution stable. 5 minutes before external attack is unavoidable." "You can help," he said simply. "Or you can leave and warn your people. But if you warn them, you must leave this place and never return." Taran did not speak. He did not need to. His feet had already moved toward the group. He would stay. The remaining humans checked weapons stored inside the walls. Hidden drone units rose slowly from the floors, hovering silently. Their surfaces gleamed with human technology, strange and beautiful. Outside, the scouts moved closer. They whispered among themselves. They did not expect what lay beneath the hills. They did not know the village's celebrations had awoken something that had been sleeping for years. Elias activated a map on the console. Red dots appeared above the village, Valori soldiers. Green dots hovered near the hills. Unmarked shapes indicated human drones buried beneath the soil. "Timing is everything," Elias said. "We cannot fail." Taran watched the humans. They moved not with hate, but with purpose. Every gesture had meaning. Every step was careful. He had never felt such calm determination, even in his bravest moments. Another sound shook the chamber. The first Valori ships appeared over the horizon. Their lights were bright, almost blinding. Soldiers shouted orders. Lanterns flickered in the village below. Elias turned to the humans. "This is the moment," he said. "We do not strike first with hate. We strike first to survive." The humans nodded. Their movements were precise. Small drones lifted from the chamber, moving silently toward openings in the hills. Energy shields activated around the pods. Weapons were prepared. Taran felt his heart pound. He had imagined battles before, but nothing like this. He had imagined fear, but now he felt purpose. He understood that survival sometimes meant choices that were hard to see from above ground. Outside, the Valori forces drew closer. They had no idea of the machines waiting beneath their feet. They had no idea of the humans standing ready to wake, fully, and fight. Elias touched the main panel one last time. The symbols blinked rapidly. The room pulsed with soft light. He spoke to the humans quietly. "Remember, we are not here to destroy. We are here to protect our future." The humans nodded once. Then, without a sound, the chamber doors opened slightly to let in fresh air. The first Valori scouts stepped closer, unaware of the force that awaited them. Taran moved beside Elias, ready to act. He felt fear, yes, but also an unshakable determination. The humans watched. The drones hovered. The pods glowed. Then, with precision and calm, Elias stepped forward. He lifted his hand toward the approaching scouts. A pulse of energy from hidden shields spread outward, deflecting their weapons. The scouts stumbled, shouting alarms. The battle had begun. But it was not yet the fight Terran feared. Elias moved not with anger, but with a plan. The humans were not here to destroy recklessly. They were here to show power and to survive. The sky above the hills began to fill with shapes, drones and hidden machines that had waited in silence for years. The Valori soldiers did not understand what they were seeing. Ships hovered, energy fields appeared, and the humans moved with careful efficiency. Terran watched, heart pounding, as history unfolded before him. The last human had returned. The village's victory was no longer certain, and the story that everyone believed to be over was only beginning. Elias turned briefly to Terran. His glowing blue eye met Terran's. "Remember this moment," he said. "You have a choice in the coming days. Choose wisely." Terran nodded. He did not fully understand, but he knew he would follow. Outside, the first shots rang through the hills. Energy sparks flew as machines met energy spears. The human drones moved with precision. No one was reckless. Every strike was calculated, every movement planned. The village below screamed as soldiers and townspeople realized their simple celebration had awakened something they could not fight. Terran felt a mix of fear and awe. He had grown up believing humans were gone. Now he saw that the last human was not only alive but prepared, and he understood that the world he had known, safe, victorious, and proud, was about to change forever. The chamber pulsed with light, the humans moved with purpose, and the red dust outside swirled in the wind. The last human was awake, and the Valori were not ready for what was coming. Terran followed quietly behind Elias and the humans as they moved deeper into the underground chamber. The walls were filled with lights and symbols that blinked like stars. The floor vibrated slightly under their feet, as if the whole hill itself was alive. Terran could feel it. Something was hidden here, something far greater than he had imagined. Elias stopped near a central console. He placed his hands on it. The machine hummed in response. Rows of pods glowed brighter. Some were empty. Others contained humans, in perfect condition, waiting silently for activation. Terran's eyes widened. He had not seen so many humans in one place before. The thought made his stomach tighten. "These are not ordinary humans," Elias said. His voice was calm but firm. They were preserved to survive the war. They were enhanced, trained. They were meant to return if the worst happened. Terran stepped closer. Why were they not awake before? Why did you have to die to wake them? Elias turned to him. The system was designed to wait. My death triggered the restoration. It is not revenge. It is survival. We cannot wait for the world above to destroy us completely. There is more to come, and we must be ready. A low alarm echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed. Terran froze. Elias's metal arm moved quickly across the console. The symbols shifted. The calm voice returned. External activity increasing. Valori fleet approaching. Estimated time of arrival, 23 minutes. Defense systems offline. Activation limited to 5 pods. Terran's heart pounded. Only 5, he whispered. Elias nodded. We do not have the power to wake more than 5 at once. We must choose carefully. Every soldier counts. Every action must be precise. Elias touched the nearest pod. The glass vibrated. Light spread across the surface. Inside, a human stirred. He was tall, muscular, his expression calm. He stepped out, bending smoothly, like waking from a short sleep. His eyes scanned the room. He did not speak. He moved with careful awareness, as if he had always known this moment would come. The next pod opened. A woman stepped out. She was quick, alert, and looked at every corner of the chamber. Her gaze landed on the drones, waiting in hidden compartments. She gave a subtle nod, as if confirming something Elias already knew. One by one, 5 humans emerged, each different, each ready. One carried a small device in his hand. Another adjusted something on his wrist. A medic checked a storage compartment, preparing tools that Taran could not even name. They were not angry. They were calm, controlled, and ready to act. Taran stepped back, unsure. He had grown up believing humans were gone forever. Now they were here, stronger than the stories he had been told. Elias moved toward the central console again. We do not strike for revenge. We strike to survive. Taran could see the seriousness in his eyes. The humans nodded. Each of them understood what was at stake. They did not speak much, but their movements were precise, almost silent. Suddenly, the ground shook. The alarm blared louder. Taran looked toward the entrance. Outside, Valori scouts were climbing the hills, shouting orders. Their ships hovered over the village, green lights cutting through the night sky. Owls and frails. The Valori thought they could surprise the humans. They did not know what waited below. Elias activated a holographic map. Red dots marked the Valori positions above ground. Green dots showed the location of hidden drones and human machines. Unmarked shapes hovered near the hills, waiting silently. "Timing is everything," Elias said. "If we act too soon, many will die. If we wait too long, the village will be destroyed." The humans moved with efficiency. Drones lifted silently from hidden compartments. Shields activated around the pods. Weapons were checked. Every gesture had meaning. Every movement was calculated. Taran felt a strange mix of fear and awe. The humans were not reckless. They did not rush. They prepared. He had never seen such calm determination, not even in the bravest Valori soldiers. From above, the first scouts approached. They did not know what lay beneath the hills. They shouted orders. The village alarmed. Lanterns flickered in the wind. Soldiers ran toward the hills, unprepared for what they would face. Elias turned to Taran. "You can help us, or you can leave and warn them," he said. "Your choice now will affect everyone." Taran did not move. His legs were frozen, but his mind made the decision. He would stay. He would see the humans' plan through. The humans prepared quietly. The woman who had first emerged from the pod whispered, "Shields online, weapons ready." The wiry man checked his devices. Energy distribution stable. External attack imminent. Elias touched the main console. Lights pulsed through the chamber. Machines hummed. The humans moved into position. Taran followed, feeling fear, but also determination. Outside, Valori scouts stepped closer. They did not know the hidden strength of the humans below. The humans had waited silent for this very moment. Elias pressed a button. A low hum filled the chamber. Drones lifted from hidden areas. Their surfaces gleamed under the lights. Weapons activated. Energy shields surrounded the pods. Taran could see the scouts hesitate. Their weapons were useless against the technology they could not see. The humans stepped toward the entrance. They did not move recklessly. Each action had purpose. Drones hovered, ready to defend. Shields pulsed in patterns that Taran could barely understand. Elias raised his hand. A pulse of energy spread outward. Invisible at first, then visible as sparks of light. The Valori scouts stumbled back. Their weapons clattered to the ground. Alarmed shouts echoed across the hills. Taran felt a surge of adrenaline. He had been afraid of humans, but now he understood. These were not ordinary humans. They had survived death itself. They had been waiting for years. Elias looked at him. "Remember this moment," he said. "History is about to change. The choice you make now matters." Taran nodded. He would not run. He would not warn the village. He would stay and help the humans protect their future. Outside, the Valori forces continued to advance. They had no idea of the power beneath their feet. Ships hovered. Soldiers shouted. Lanterns swayed in the wind. Inside, the humans moved with efficiency. Shields rose. Weapons activated. Drones hovered, ready to strike. Every movement was precise. Taran watched, heart pounding, as history unfolded. The humans were not here to destroy recklessly. They were here to survive. They were here to protect themselves and perhaps, in time, to protect others. The first Valori soldiers reached the entrance of the hill. They did not expect what they would see. Drones hovered silently. Shields pulsed. Energy weapons were ready. Humans moved with calm purpose, their eyes steady. The first shot rang out. Energy sparks flew. Drones intercepted attacks. Humans moved with perfect timing. The Valori soldiers could not understand the technology they faced. Taran stood beside Elias. Fear was there, yes, but so was understanding. He realized that survival sometimes required choices the mind could not yet understand. The sky above the village was alive with lights. Ships hovered. Lanterns flickered. Soldiers shouted. The humans below moved like shadows, ready to strike, ready to defend. Elias looked at Taran. "You will see more than you can imagine tonight. Remember, we fight not for hate, but for survival." The humans nodded once. Then, silently, they moved forward. Drones and pods glowed. Eyes. Shields expanded. Weapons activated. Taran felt a strange calm wash over him. He had feared humans, but now he understood them. They were not monsters. They were survivors, and he would stand with them no matter what came next. The Valori did not know it yet, but the village's celebration had awakened something they could not control, something they could not understand. Taran's heart pounded as the first battle began. But this battle was not yet the end. It was only the beginning. The humans, the last of their kind, had returned, and the Valori were about to learn that survival was not something they could control. The sky over the village glowed with green and silver light as the Valori ships approached. Soldiers moved in careful formation, energy spears in hand, but their confidence wavered. The celebrations below had turned into alarms. Lanterns flickered violently, and the villagers screamed in confusion. No one knew exactly what they were facing. From the hills, Elias and the 5 humans watched silently. Drones hovered beside them, their surfaces gleaming under the moonlight. Energy shields expanded across the hill entrances. The humans did not panic. They had trained for this moment. Each movement was deliberate, precise, and controlled. Taran stood beside Elias, his heart pounding, but his mind clear. He had made a choice. He would not run. He would not warn the village. He would stand with the humans, no matter what came next. The first Valori ships hovered over the fields. Soldiers on the ground raised their weapons. They thought they could surprise Elias and the humans. They did not know what lay hidden beneath the hills. Elias raised his hand. A small pulse of energy shot outward from the hill. The shields shimmered in response. The first Valori shots struck the shields and were deflected harmlessly. Sparks flew, and a few scouts stumbled backward, unsure of what they were facing. The humans moved forward, silently, activating drones and hidden devices beneath the soil. The drones rose into the air with a soft hum, invisible at first, then shining with bright energy as they prepared to defend. Taran felt awe and fear mixed together. He had grown up fearing humans. Now, seeing them in action, he understood why. They were not angry. They were not wild. They were calm, and every move had purpose. The Valori soldiers shouted orders. Some tried to flank the hills, while others fired blindly toward the entrance. Their energy spears struck nothing but empty air, deflected by invisible shields. Panic spread quickly among them. Elias pressed a button on the console. From beneath the hills, small human craft lifted silently. They hovered near the Valori ships, appearing suddenly in the sky. They moved with precision, not reckless, not careless. Every action was calculated. Taran watched as the first shots were fired from above. Energy sparks flew. The Valori ships were not destroyed, but their engines were disabled. Small drones clung to them, cutting wires and systems carefully, silently. No soldiers were harmed, yet the ships lost control. The humans did not shout. They did not rage. They moved like shadows, activating systems that had been dormant for years. The Valori forces above were strong, but they were not ready for this. They did not know what had been waiting for them. From the hills, Elias looked at Taran. "Do not panic," he said calmly. "This is not destruction. This is control. We fight to survive, not to kill unnecessarily." Taran nodded, though his hands shook slightly. He had never seen anything like this. The humans had power, intelligence, and patience. They were not monsters, but they were forces to be reckoned with. The Valori realized too late that the hill was more than a hiding place. It was a fortress, filled with machines that could change the outcome of the battle. Their ships faltered, their soldiers hesitated, and their confidence vanished. The humans moved in a careful pattern. Drones hovered above, disabling weapons without harming soldiers. Energy shields expanded, blocking attacks. The 5 humans worked as a team, each knowing their role perfectly. Taran could hardly breathe as the first Valori ship lost control and crashed into a field, sending sparks flying into the night. Another ship followed, caught by drones that disrupted its systems. Soldiers screamed as their leaders struggled to control the chaos. Elias stepped forward, his glowing blue eye scanning the battlefield. "We do not need to destroy them all," he said. "We only need to show them the truth. We only need to protect ourselves." The humans moved closer to the village. They did not enter recklessly. Their drones cleared paths, shutting down weapons, disarming traps. Not a single human aimed to harm villagers. They were precise, careful, and calm. Taran watched as the Valori soldiers tried to regroup. Confusion reigned among them. No one knew how to fight against machines they could not see or understand. Their formations broke. Their shouts became frantic. The humans above and below the hills moved in perfect synchronization. But call! From the control panel, Elias activated a larger pulse. It swept over the village, disabling alarms, lanterns, and weapons temporarily. The villagers looked around, bewildered, seeing strange lights and machines moving silently. Terran felt a strange sense of relief. He had feared for the village, but he realized the humans were protecting everyone. They were not here to kill unnecessarily. They were here to survive and defend. The Valori leaders shouted commands, but their forces could not respond. The human drones had control of the battlefield. Ships hovered disabled, soldiers disarmed. The humans did not celebrate. They moved with calm determination, ready for whatever came next. Elias turned to Terran again. "See how precise we are," he said. "No one needs to die if we act carefully. This is the difference between survival and chaos." Terran nodded. He had never seen such calm in the face of danger. He had grown up fearing humans, but now he understood. They were survivors, not destroyers. The Valori tried one final maneuver. A squadron of ships moved to flank the hills. Soldiers on the ground tried to climb, to attack the humans in hiding. But the drones intercepted every movement. Shields pulsed. Energy fields blocked attacks. Every action by the Valori was countered, not with rage, but with precision. The humans moved forward slowly, taking control of key positions. They did not harm the village or the civilians. Their actions were careful, measured. Every move had a purpose. Terran felt his fears slowly change into understanding. He realized that the humans had waited for this moment for a reason. They were not just surviving. They were showing the Valori the power of preparation, patience, and intelligence. From above, the first human pilot activated hidden craft. They moved swiftly among Valori ships, disabling them without destruction. The sky filled with strange lights. The Valori soldiers screamed in frustration. They had no idea how to respond. Elias activated the final system in the chamber. Energy pulses ran through the drones and pods. Shields expanded further, creating a protective field around the hill. The humans moved silently, efficiently, like shadows in the night. Terran followed them, heart pounding but understanding his place. He was no longer just a witness. He was part of this moment. He was standing with the humans, ready to face whatever came next. The Valori forces were confused, afraid, and unable to fight back effectively. Their confidence vanished under the precision of the humans' actions. Ships faltered, soldiers stumbled, and leaders shouted in frustration. Elias raised his hand. "We fight to survive," he said. "We do not strike without reason. We protect ourselves, and we protect others if we can. This is not revenge. This is survival." The humans nodded. Drones hovered. Shields expanded. Weapons were ready. The Valori could not understand what they were facing. Every move by the humans was calculated, controlled, and precise. Terran felt awe and fear together. He had grown up fearing humans. Now he understood their power. They were not monsters. They were survivors, capable of precise action, patient and careful. The sky over the village glowed with strange lights. Ships hovered, drones moved, and energy shields expanded. The battle was intense, But it was not reckless. Every action was purposeful. Terran watched as the Valori forces began to retreat, confused and frustrated. Their soldiers had no idea how to fight machines they could not see. Their confidence shattered, their formations broken. The humans moved carefully through the hills, controlling the battlefield without unnecessary destruction. They showed their strength, precision, and intelligence. Terran felt hope. He realized that the humans were not here to destroy recklessly. They were here to survive, to protect, and to prepare for what was coming. The first night of battle ended with the humans victorious, not through brute force, but through intelligence and precision. The Valori forces had no choice but to retreat and regroup. The village below was unharmed. The humans had shown power, but not cruelty. Taran stood beside Elias. He looked at the humans, their calm faces, and realized that survival was more than fighting. It was preparation, intelligence, and patience. Elias turned to Taran. "You have seen how we fight. You have seen the difference between destruction and survival. Remember this." Taran nodded. He understood now. Humans were not just survivors. They were teachers, warriors, and protectors. The sky over Orcs was calm again. The village below was safe. The Valori had retreated, but the humans were ready for whatever came next. And Taran knew that this was only the beginning. The last humans had returned, and Orcs would never be the same. The village below the hills was quiet now. The Valori soldiers had retreated, but confusion and fear lingered. Lanterns swayed in the wind. Families peered out of their homes, whispering questions no one could answer. The Valori leaders gathered in the council hall, their faces pale under the dim lights. They had believed the humans were gone. They had celebrated the end of mankind. Now everything they knew was in question. Elias and the 5 humans moved carefully through the hills, observing the village from a distance. Their shields still pulsed faintly, and drones hovered nearby, scanning the terrain. Elias's glowing blue eyes swept across the horizon. He was calm, but every line of his face held focus. Taran followed closely, still unsure what he would find next. He had witnessed the humans' strength, their precision, and their calm. He understood now that they were not monsters. They were survivors. But he also knew that the Valori people would not accept this easily. They had celebrated the humans' end for years. They had built their society on the belief that mankind was gone. Elias turned to Taran. "We cannot stay hidden forever," he said. "They need to understand the truth. The war did not end as they were told. Their leaders lied. If we do not act, this cycle of fear and violence will continue." Taran swallowed. "What do you mean? What truth?" Elias led him to a smaller chamber beneath the hills. Screens and consoles lined the walls. Data flowed in streams of light. Images of human settlements, starships, and battles filled the screens. Elias pressed a button and the images shifted to the old war, the first contact with the Valori and the events leading up to it. "These records show what really happened," Elias said. "The humans did not start the war. A rogue commander among your people destroyed one of our colony ships, out of fear. Panic spread. The war began from lies and misunderstanding, not invasion. Your people were told otherwise to keep control. You celebrated the end of a threat that was never true." Taran's hands shook as he looked at the images. He had learned a different story in school, one that painted humans as aggressors. He had believed it. Now he saw the truth. His people had been misled. His village had danced on a grave, believing it was a victory. The humans in the chamber worked quietly, checking systems and preparing equipment. They moved with calm purpose, each action deliberate. Terran realized that their patience and intelligence were as powerful as their technology. Elias continued, "We are not here to destroy your people. We are here to protect our future. But we must act together, or neither humans nor Valori will survive the threats that lie ahead." Terran felt anger rise in him, not at the humans, but at his own leaders. They had hidden the truth, manipulated history, and kept the people in fear. He realized that their celebration had been built on lies. A soft beep interrupted their discussion. The monitors showed something moving in deep space. A massive fleet of ships approached the system. They were unlike any human or Valori design, dark, angular, and enormous. Sensors could not identify them fully, but their size alone suggested danger beyond comprehension. Elias's expression remained calm. "These are not Valori," he said. "They are not human. They are hunters, ancient and powerful. They take worlds and leave nothing behind. We fled from them long ago." Orcs was meant to be a refuge. Terran stared at the screen. The ships moved slowly but purposefully. There were too many to fight alone. The humans below had power, but even they might not survive against this fleet. Elias moved to the console and activated communication systems. "We must unite," he said. "Valori and humans cannot fight each other now. The real danger is here. We have to show them the truth and prepare together." The 5 humans checked equipment and weapons. Drones hovered silently, scanning the approaching fleet. Shields expanded, covering the hills and underground chambers. Every action was precise, measured, and purposeful. Terran took a deep breath. He knew what he had to do. He would speak to his people. He would tell them the truth. He would convince them to stand with the humans, or at least to stop fighting them. Elias nodded. "You will need courage," he said. "The village will resist. Their leaders will not want to hear this, but the choice must be made, or they will be unprepared for what is coming." Terran moved toward the exit of the chamber. The humans followed silently. Their calm presence was reassuring. He realized that despite their power, they were not threatening his people. They wanted to protect life, not destroy it. Above ground, the village council was still in chaos. Soldiers reported strange lights, malfunctioning ships, and drones moving in ways they could not understand. The elder who had ordered Elias's execution years ago stood at the center of the hall, trembling. He had known some of the truth, but he had hidden it. Now the past had returned to challenge him. Terran stepped forward into the council hall. He raised his voice. "Listen. You have been lied to. The humans did not start the war. Our leaders hid the truth. We celebrated the end of a people who were not our enemies. The council erupted in protest. Elders shouted, soldiers pointed spears, and villagers stared in disbelief. Terran held his ground. He could feel fear and anger from the people, but he also saw doubt. At that moment, Elias and the humans appeared outside the hall, visible to everyone. Their calm, controlled presence silenced the crowd. Energy shields shimmered around them. Drones hovered above. The villagers could no longer deny the humans' existence, nor their power. Elias spoke. "We do not seek revenge." he said. "We are here because we survived. We are here because you must know the truth. The war began in lies, and now another danger approaches. If we do not act together, none of us will survive." The villagers stared in shock. Some dropped their weapons. Others whispered urgently to each other. Taran could see the conflict in their eyes. Years of belief clashed with the reality before them. One of the Valori elders stepped forward. "Why should we trust you?" he demanded. "You destroyed our cities, you fought our people, and now you return as if nothing happened?" Elias's glowing blue eyes scanned the elder calmly. "We did not destroy out of hate," he said. "We fought to survive. We waited for this moment to return. And now we offer truth, not war. But we cannot face what is coming alone. Your people must decide, stand with us, or be unprepared." The elder hesitated. The council murmured among themselves. Taran stepped beside Elias. "Listen to him," he shouted. "The humans are not our enemies. They want to survive, as we do. There is a fleet coming that will destroy everything if we are not ready. We must work together." Some villagers stepped forward, hesitant but willing to listen. Soldiers lowered their spears. The crowd became quieter, their fear mixed with curiosity. Elias gestured toward the monitor showing the approaching fleet. "This is why we cannot fight each other," he said. "This is why the truth matters. If we continue the cycle of hatred, we will all be destroyed. Only together can we survive." Taran saw realization spread across the faces of some villagers. Fear still lingered, but hope began to grow. They had been misled for generations, but now they could choose differently. The humans moved calmly among the villagers, showing that they meant no immediate harm. They offered information, technology, and guidance. They explained the systems in the hills, the drones, and the shields. The villagers could see that the humans' power was not for destruction, but for protection. Slowly, the council began to understand. They could not ignore the approaching threat. They could not continue to fight the humans while danger approached from space. Elias turned to Taran. "This is the moment of choice," he said. "Convince them to act wisely. Stand with us. Do not let fear control you." Taran nodded. He raised his voice again. "We were wrong to celebrate a grave. We were wrong to believe lies. Humans are not our enemies. We have been given a chance to prepare together. We must take it." The villagers and council fell silent. Some began to nod. Some dropped their weapons completely. The fear of the unknown and the reality of the humans' power forced them to reconsider. Elias activated a larger pulse from the hill. It did not harm anyone, but it demonstrated the humans' control. Drones rose higher. Shields expanded. Energy fields shimmered across the hills. Taran saw hope in the eyes of some of the soldiers. They realized that they had underestimated the humans. They realized that survival required unity. Elias spoke once more. "The war of the past is over. The war of the future is not yet here. We must act together to survive it. Valori and humans must stand as one." The council murmured among themselves. Slowly, more villagers lowered their weapons. Some stepped toward the humans to ask questions. Others moved to help organize defenses. Taran felt relief. He had feared this moment would be impossible. But now, the first steps toward unity were being taken. Outside, the approaching fleet continued its slow advance. The danger was real. Time was limited, but for the first time the humans and Valori could prepare together. They could share knowledge, strength, and technology. Taran stood beside Elias, ready to act. He had learned fear, doubt, and courage all in one night. He understood the choice they faced. And stand together or be destroyed. The council finally spoke. We will listen. We will act. We will stand together, one elder said. His voice trembled, but held resolve. Elias nodded. Then we have a chance, he said. A chance to survive. A chance to change history. Taran looked at the humans and felt hope. They had returned not to destroy, but to protect. And now, with the Valori willing to listen, perhaps the planet could face what was coming. The ships in deep space continued their slow approach. Time was running out, but for the first time, the humans and Valori could face it as allies. The past was revealed. The truth had been shown. And the future, uncertain, dangerous, and full of challenge, was now something they could face together. Taran realized that survival required more than strength. It required courage, trust, and the willingness to accept the truth. Elias placed a hand on Taran's shoulder. Remember this, he said. Hope cannot be buried, not by lies, not by fear, not by the end of a people. Taran nodded. He felt ready. They had survived the past, and now, together, they would face the future. The sky over Orcs was dark and still, but far beyond the stars, a massive fleet moved slowly toward the planet. Its shadow stretched across the moons, and even from the hills, Taran could see the glimmer of its immense ships. They were unlike any Valori or human craft, alien and enormous, silent in the cold void. Every sensor in the underground chamber and hill outposts blared warnings. Time was short, and survival depended on action. Elias stood at the central console, his glowing blue eyes scanning every readout. The humans moved with calm precision, checking drones, shields, and energy systems. 5 humans had returned from pods, but the chamber held hundreds more, sleeping and waiting. All could be restored if needed. Taran stood beside Elias, feeling both fear and determination. He had learned the truth, seen the humans' power, and understood the lies his people had lived under. But this threat was different. The fleet was immense. Even the combined strength of humans and Valori might not be enough. Time is short, Elias said. We must activate the full defense network. All pods, all drones, every shield, every weapon. The humans nodded. They moved quickly, preparing the systems that had been silent for decades. Pods opened, and more humans emerged. Each was calm, precise, and ready. They checked weapons and energy devices, ensuring everything was aligned. The drones hovered silently, energy shields expanding around them. Taran watched as the humans moved like one living organism. There was no panic, no wasted motion. Each action had purpose. Even with the overwhelming threat approaching, they were in control. The village below was quiet. Soldiers and civilians had listened to Taran's warning, and many had joined in preparations. They were terrified, yes, but willing to act. Together with humans, they began organizing defenses, moving supplies and activating energy fields that the humans had shared with them. Elias activated the main communication network. Across the hills and underground, every human and Valori soldier could hear him clearly. The fleet approaching is not of this planet. It will destroy everything unless we act. We are not enemies. We are survivors. Stand together or all will fall. Taran felt a chill. The ships were vast, moving slowly but purposefully. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing on everyone. This was not a battle they could delay. From the hills, the humans launched drones to scout the fleet. Energy pulses scanned the ships, mapping weak points and pathways. Their movement was silent, precise, almost invisible in the night sky. Elias turned to Terran. You must help coordinate the village. Every action counts. They may fear the humans, but if they do not act with us, they will be lost. Terran nodded. He ran from the underground chamber to the village, directing soldiers to defensive positions, telling civilians where to go, and helping activate energy shields around homes and fields. His voice was firm, carrying authority born from knowledge of the truth and courage to act. Above, the fleet approached slowly, dark shapes blotting the stars. The first ships entered the system, scanning for life. Sensors detected humans, Valori, and the protective energy fields. The fleet paused, perhaps sensing resistance, but they did not slow. They moved like hunters, inevitable and unyielding. Back in the hills, Elias activated the defense grid. Energy beams traced the sky, forming a protective lattice over the planet. Drones hovered in precise formations, their weapons ready. Pods opened, and more humans stepped forward, ready for combat. Terran watched from a hilltop, feeling fear tighten in his chest, but also pride. Humans and Valori were working together. They had learned the truth. They had chosen to stand united. And now, survival depended on that unity. The first ships of the fleet fired. Energy blasts streaked toward the planet, but the shields held. The beams deflected harmlessly into space. The humans and Valori responded instantly, drones moving to intercept any stray fire, shields expanding to cover weak points. Elias moved quickly, issuing orders to humans and Terran. Keep the shield stable. Focus on protecting the villages first. Then engage the fleet. The humans moved with astonishing efficiency. Drones flew into the sky, disrupting the enemy ship's systems. Energy pulses disabled engines and weapon arrays without harming civilians. The Valori soldiers watched in awe. They had never seen such calm precision under pressure. Taran directed villagers to maintain the protective fields around homes and farms. People who had feared humans now worked alongside them, moving as one force. The sense of unity gave him courage. They were not just defending themselves. They were fighting for the survival of their entire world. The fleet responded. More ships descended. Their weapons targeted the hills directly. Energy blasts struck, but human shields and drones intercepted most attacks. Sparks flew as shields bent under pressure, but the systems held. The humans and Valori had prepared for this moment. They were ready. Elias looked at Terran. Now you see why survival requires preparation and unity. Strength alone will not win. Intelligence and precision will. Remember this lesson. The humans launched a coordinated attack. Drones moved in synchronized patterns, striking weak points in the fleet's ships. Energy pulses disabled critical systems. Shields prevented counterattacks. The battle was intense but controlled. Terran felt the weight of every moment. But lives depended on their success. One mistake could be catastrophic. Yet the humans remained calm, each action deliberate, each strike purposeful. The villagers watched in awe as the humans and Valori worked together. Fear turned to determination. Families who had once celebrated the end of humans now understood the truth. They were part of something greater, something that could survive against overwhelming odds. The fleet pressed harder. Ships fired relentlessly. Explosions lit the night sky. The humans countered, moving with precision, keeping shields and drones in perfect alignment. Every attack from the fleet was met with calculated defense and countermeasures. Taran realized something important. Survival was not just about fighting. It was about strategy, preparation, and unity. The humans had waited centuries for this moment. They had been patient. They had been calm. And now, that patience was their greatest weapon. Elias activated additional pods. More humans emerged, their movements coordinated with those already in combat. They reinforced weak points, moved drones to key positions, and strengthened shields around the villages. The fleet began to falter. Their weapons were disrupted. Ships lost control. Systems failed. The humans had predicted their approach and countered with perfect timing. Taran's heart raced as he saw the first enemy ships disabled completely. They floated powerless, energy systems dead, while humans moved to secure the skies above the planet. Elias spoke calmly. "The battle is not over, but we have shown them that we will not be destroyed. We have the advantage, but only if we act with precision. Remember, every action matters." The fleet regrouped, attempting a different formation. Humans and Valari anticipated each move, intercepting ships, redirecting drones, and maintaining shields. Each strike was calculated. Every maneuver protected civilians and strategic positions. Taran realized the humans' strength was not just in technology or numbers. It was in their patience, strategy, and unity. They had waited for centuries to survive this moment. They had returned not for revenge, but to protect life. The fleet launched a massive coordinated strike. Energy beams swept across the hills, striking at drones and shields. Sparks flew, machines whirred, and alarms blared, yet the humans remained calm. They adjusted drones, reinforced shields, and countered attacks with perfect timing. Taran ran across a hilltop, directing villagers to maintain defensive fields. He saw fear in some eyes, but also courage. People were learning. They were becoming part of the fight. Elias raised his hand. A pulse of energy shot through the sky. The fleet's formation wavered. Ships lost control, systems failed, and explosions lit the horizon. The humans had predicted this attack and countered flawlessly. The battle reached a critical moment. Humans, Valori, and villagers moved as one force. Drones disabled ships, energy shields absorbed attacks, and humans coordinated every maneuver. Taran could hardly keep up with the speed and precision of their actions. Finally, the fleet began to retreat. Ships that had once seemed invincible now fled the planet, crippled and disorganized. Drones followed, tracking their movements to ensure they could not return easily. Elias lowered his hand. The shields remained active, protecting the villages and the hills. The humans and Valori looked around, catching their breath. The battle was won, but the war was not over. The fleet was still out there, but for now, Orcs was safe. Taran looked around. Villagers were cheering not at the destruction, but at the survival. Soldiers who had feared humans now understood them. And the humans themselves remained calm, their eyes glowing softly, ready for what might come next. Elias turned to Taran. "This is why we returned," he said, "to show that survival requires courage, unity, and preparation. The past is over. The future is ours to protect, and we will face it together." Taran nodded. He had learned fear, truth, courage, and hope, all in one night. He understood that Humans were not monsters. They were survivors, teachers, and protectors. And now, the planet had a chance. The fleet beyond the stars would return someday, but for now, Orcs stood united. Humans, Valori, and villagers together, ready to face whatever came next. And Terran knew that the end of mankind had never been the truth. Survival, patience, and unity had changed everything. The last humans had returned. The future was theirs to defend.